Well, all breaches are security incidents, but not all security incidents are breaches.
Exactly. That's it. It's like I always get to say, all bourbons are whiskeys, but not all whiskeys are bourbon.
Yeah, exactly.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax, HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs, and joining me is Donna Grindle from Carden. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
We don't usually do mornings much anymore.
No, I'm not that morning person. Never have been. Not going to start now.
No. So, but we're recording this. This is our Thanksgiving episode, and the title is Thankful It Is Not Me. So we're going to dive into a few things that are recent, noteworthy things that we're sure thankful doesn't involve us. And then we're going to wrap up with some things that you should be aware of if you are doing some gift giving of technical devices over the holidays, so that you can be thankful that you listened to this episode.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. With that, we do want to say thanks to those who listen and donate and do all those things. Appreciate that. If you want to know more about Donna or myself, you can go to helpmewithhipaa.com, and all of our stuff's there. You can also find all the other episodes in the past, because there are almost 500.
Yep.
Ooh-wee. So 486 is today's. So bunches of them, bunches of free training.
Indeed.
Right. So let's get started. Thankful it's not me. Let's roll.
Yes. Yep. I just chuckled at myself when I came up with that idea. All by myself, just chuckling. Because I'm like, okay, this one's Thanksgiving. Then I was thinking, oh, what do you do at Thanksgiving? And a lot of folks will sit around and sit at the table and, we've got to go around the table, except if you're in my family where there's just too many. But if we're having the smaller one where it's not the extended family, well, no. If you're not having a huge group, you can do this, where you go around and everybody talks about what they're thankful for.
Yeah. I always like cranberry sauce. I'm thankful for cranberry sauce. There's like 2 of us in the whole family that eat it.
Really?
Yeah. And it's funny because we both bring a can. We won't share.
I know. And the other thing is, it's like the where you go to all the trouble of making it with the real cranberries. I'm sorry, I'd rather just have my can. Just
gel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
and I like a Thanksgiving sandwich. So for those of you who aren't in the U.S., like Boyan, the Thanksgiving is all about turkey and dressing and those kind of things. My favorite part is the leftover turkey and dressing with the cranberry sauce on a Sammy. Damn.
I don't think I've ever done all of those on this. Now I've done the turkey and the cranberry sauce, but I have not done the dressing on the sandwich.
Oh yeah, you got to have it, and it needs to be not the nice little crumbly that looks like it's done with bread cubes. No, you want the one that's a slab.
Right? Yeah. That's kind of my mom makes. So it's And,
there's stuffing and dressing.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You want your, and you can do some mayo. You get your bread. And then your turkey and your slab. And then your, gelled cranberry, whatever that is that, my chef friends are like, I'm sorry, that's not. I'm like, yeah, but you can't enjoy this sandwich with the berry one. You can't.
Yeah. I mean, even cutting the gelled cranberry to me has some satisfaction to it.
Yeah, it does. Getting that right layer.
Yeah.
Not too thin, not too thick. I know. And it's got the little ridges, and you have to line the... Okay. All right, we digress.
Yeah,
so, clearly this is one of the things that we never knew about each other, that we both have an obsession with the cranberry goo. All right. But here's the things we are thankful we weren't involved in this breach is the first one.
Yeah.
You know, when you're not involved in any way, that is when you should be thankful.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly this one, because it's kind of creepy. It's different than all the others that you see. And the headline, 2 million records, including the PII of job seekers, exposed online by a tech recruitment service. And right away, that's got like a bazillion reasons I'm going to go read that.
Mm-hmm.
You too. It's like, oh no, is it what I use?
Yeah. I mean, a tech recruitment service. You'd think anything involving tech would have a little bit better security, which not saying they don't. It could still happen. But it does make me want to go, I want to read it, though.
Yeah.
Somebody I know.
Yeah. You'd never assume that just because somebody has a technology company or even like, me that does the compliance work and the governance and all of that you automatically assume everything's going to be secure. Now, this kind of breach, I'm paranoid like crazy that something like this would ever happen. But it opens, and it was actually the articles written by Jeremiah Fowler, who is a cybersecurity researcher. And cybersecurity researchers go out and look for problems out on the internet that could be, bad.
Yeah. Like let me find them before the bad guys do. That way I can tell people. And they'll always pay attention and fix it, right?
Yeah. So, and sometimes these folks go around telling people, and the people go, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Always go look yourself. Never assume they're wrong. Always panic, and overconfidence is the number one failure in cybersecurity, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. The minute you're overconfident about your security, you failed. But anyway, he discovered and is reporting it's non-password protected files of an estimate. It was over 200,000 job seekers in the technology sector. And they apparently looks like they belong to a company called All Tech Consulting Services. And they do like employers throughout the US and Canada and bring in employees from all over the world. It says they're a New Jersey company, but in the details, it also points out that they have an office in Charlotte, David. So that just want to let you know. You should pay attention. But he found it and he reached out to them and then he got no response. So this is a normal process that you do when you're a cybersecurity researcher is you inform the people so they can fix it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the things, like if somebody's like, holy crap, and they fix it right away, you'll never hear about it unless the company tells you.
Yep.
The researchers don't come out publicly with the information except when they get no response from the company.
Yeah. So because it's important that everybody knows what's going on. And they don't do it for malicious reasons. It's not like, oh, if you don't answer me, I'm going to release this information. And they do it because if you're not going to fix it and tell your customers this is a problem, then I'll tell your customers it's a problem so they can take the proper precautions.
Yeah, because when it does hit the news, people do fix it.
Yeah.
So anyway, what he found was a folder called Documents. That wouldn't make anybody want to look. Not a password protection, nothing. Had over 2.3 million records in it. And they estimated it was like 216,000 different people. Mm. And you get your normal, you think PII, you think demographics. But there are things in here because it was, job application kind of stuff. And they're identifying these applicants and tracking them and tying them to companies where they work. Mm-hmm. Lots of problems here. It had things like passport numbers, details about their work visas, because the H-1B visas and those kind of things. They even had internal notes about the experience, qualification, type of job that these people were looking for, all included. Much more job-related information was in there. It goes through the details in the article, and it makes this point that this detailed information combined with internal notes could signify additional potential risk if they were to fall in the hands of cyber criminals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just blew my mind once, I started reading all the different ways this could be used. I mean, think about it. Like, if you know this is where they work, and now you can target them, or you can just say you're with immigration, or there's so many different ways.
Yeah. Well, I do wonder though, with, the prevalence of ransomware and all this other stuff, if I don't know how this researcher contacted them, but I can imagine if I received an email from a researcher, I would, be tempted to think this might be a scam or something like that. But
I'd still go look.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but I also think I would go and try to verify. Like, okay, let me go check this out though, just in case it's legit. Let me go look.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would look into it, and and it's one thing. Like, I'm sure he was watching. You don't have to respond, but if you don't respond and you don't fix it, now we're talking. And the only good news is that, we don't know, and the company would have to figure this out, whether or not anybody's actually done anything with it. It's not like they learn about it because it's for sale on the internet or they're getting a ransom demand to pay us, so we're going to put this out. The only problem is, we knew it was out there. Now the company would have to go investigate whether or not anybody's actually accessed it that shouldn't. And I've seen scenarios like this before where somebody finds something, and granted now, not a cybersecurity researcher, but a tech person realizes, hey, a couple weeks ago, somebody made this change and it exposed something. And they're able then to pull all IP addresses that hit that particular thing. And, thankfully it was like a development kind of thing. It wasn't a giant file server, which had tons of IP addresses. But they were able then to track and account for every single one that had hit it. And nothing was unaccounted for any activity on it. So that made it a whole lot easier to say that it was reasonable to believe that they had caught it in time and it hadn't been found. So, great. But we don't know that's happening here.
Right.
Yeah. It's important to note, we have to consider it a security incident until we know whether somebody's accessed it or not, and then it becomes a breach.
Right.
And there's a big difference. Everybody's like, "Oh, you've got a breach." No, you've got an incident. Something has occurred, and you don't know if anything's breached that security. Now, in this case, we know the researcher did.
Yeah. Well, all breaches are security incidents, but not all security incidents are breaches.
Exactly. That's it. It's like I always get to say, all bourbons are whiskeys, but not all whiskeys are bourbon.
Yeah, exactly.
Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So then I'm looking to see if there's been any response. And then there's a press release that a leading data breach law firm is investigating the company because they saw this. And they're basically saying, hey, you should come. If you feel like you've been one of these, let us know.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Class
they're gearing up. But they also point out that as of November 13th, when this was published, Alltech has not publicly acknowledged the data exposure or confirmed whether the incident resulted in a data breach. So I was glad to see him talk incident and data breach. But if you are out there, you have to assume that every freaking thing you see from now on could be some sort of scam.
Oh, yeah.
Or spear phishing. Oh, my God. The level of spear phishing that could be done. Insane.
Mm-hmm.
So just having to live under that constant pressure of, you can't ever let your guard down.
Yeah.
Well,
And
you shouldn't anyway.
Yeah, that's true. And the fact that you don't even know where your data even goes anymore. I just this week, I got a breach notification, for one of the monitoring services I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, your email was found on the dark web and a breach of such and such company. And I'm like, I've never heard of it,
Yeah.
and I know it's my data has been sold, somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah. Hey,
and the bad thing about that is like, I can't go and, close my account or change my password or whatever, because I don't even know what it is.
Right. Well, and I've also gotten I bet you've gotten the same thing on yours. All of the triggers went off in all of my monitoring services about national public data, and you get like 6 of them. This one. I'm like, every time I see it, I get irritated.
Yep.
Anyway, I can't be thankful I'm not in that, but I can be thankful I'm not in Alta.
Yeah. Well, I'm thankful I don't use the same password everywhere, because that would be a nightmare.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Let's go on to the next thing, the number 2 thing that we're thankful about, and it's quick and easy. We're thankful to not be dealing with ridiculous things like this. When I saw it, I was like, wait, what?
I have to say though, it put a new word into my vocabulary.
Indeed. We can thank them for that as well. I mean, it's when you see a crazy amount of money, like if somebody's going to sue me for $20 million, you're not serious, because that's just not going to happen. Right. So same thing here though, when you see that this Google apparently took some action about propaganda being spread using their tools by the Russians. And I didn't go into, it's irrelevant what the action was.
Yeah.
Because what was ridiculous is Russia then fines them $20 decillion.
I know. I was like, what? What is that?
Thankfully, they tell us in the heading, David. Okay, so what is 20 decillion, David?
It's 20 billion trillion dollars. It's like, I don't even know how many zeros that is, but it is multiple times more than the entire world's economy.
I mean, come on. I mean, that's just, you're just messing around. Right?
My thing is, why stop there?
I know. Why 20?
Why not 100? Yeah, why not 100? I mean, I don't know. It's crazy.
I know. Billion, trillion.
Yeah. But yeah, decillion.
Yeah. Why not 1? Where did 20 come from?
I know. If it's 1, 20, 100, doesn't matter. It's all ridiculous. But yeah, that's what I want to know. Where did 20 come from?
Suddenly you have that whole, vision of the spy who shagged me. $1 million.
Yeah. $1 decillion. A billion, trillion. God. Yeah. What? I don't even know what that is.
It's decillion.
I know.
But how many zeros could you do?
I don't know. I don't know how many zeros that is.
I bet even the spreadsheet would blow up,
I have to ask Google. And Google probably had to Google it.
Yeah, we're going to go into Chat GPT. Can you tell me what Can you tell me what the monthly payment would be?
Oh, that's awesome. How long do we want to spread it across? I'll ask now.
I don't know. I mean, let's be just as realistic. Let's say 100 years.
Okay. So 20 decillion, right?
Yeah. Interest free now. Let's do interest free because, good Lord, I don't want to think about calculating interest on a decillion. And,
all right. So let's see what it comes up with. So it's got to tell me all the calculations that it did, blah, 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 carried to the 31st power. Oh, it doesn't even give me a solid number. The monthly payment would be approximately 1.67 times 10 to the 31st power or $16.67 decillion per month.
How's it that? You can't pay almost the whole thing monthly.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It can't even tell you.
It doesn't even know.
Yeah. So I asked it to calculate the monthly payment of $20 decillion over 100 years interest free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, now we're going to go down that rabbit hole for sure. It's just a ridiculous thing, and I am so thankful that I am not dealing with something that ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. That's funny that ChatGPT couldn't figure it out.
It just went. That's a good one. Yeah. So, if you're dealing with anything, at least you're. I don't know. In a lot of ways, if I was going to be sued, I would let okay, go ahead, $20 decillion. Yuck, 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 yuck. You're not serious.
Start a check. I would write a check just for the heck of it.
Because by the way, I wrote a check that's going to bounce, but make sure everybody gets the joke when you see it. Call the banks.
I mean, checks don't. You couldn't even write a check for that. It wouldn't even fit.
I know. How would you do that? Yeah. So there you have it. All right. Then we're closing out with one. Thankful my vacuum cleaner is better behaved than these.
Mm-hmm.
And the headline, this was hacked robot vacuums hurl racial slurs and show IoT device risk. Well, if it's doing that, that would explain the risks. And so the article, this one is on Secure World. I like those guys, secureworld.io. And owners of robot vacuums across the U.S. have reported their devices have been hacked. One particularly alarming involved a man whose Echovax Dbot X2 began yelling racial slurs at him. It appears to be linked to a security vulnerability in the Chinese-made Echovax Dbot X2 model. This is coming out of Australia, is reporting it, and then these guys picked it up. The flaw has exposed the widely distributed smart vacuums to manipulation by bad actors, raising concerns about the cybersecurity of interconnected home devices. We have talked about this.
Oh, yeah, years ago, and for years.
Yeah. The rise of the machines is not unrealistic. He shockingly discovered someone else was accessing the camera and remote control settings. So it says, Switson reset the vacuum's password only for it to begin zooming around. Now, can you imagine? First of all, zooming, because these things kind of go, but I guess they could pick up the pace. Zooming around, yelling the N-word repeatedly, all within earshot of his children. He turned it off and he's never turned it back on. So.
Okay, but let's assume it's Chinese hackers. Is that the only word they know?
They had the camera, maybe, I don't know. I have no idea where that would come from. And you never actually, but just knowing that thing, how long it had been creeping around before he noticed it. It was like, he noticed it was making weird sounds. It seemed to be acting different.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's weird. Let me just do this in case. And then wackadoo.
Yeah, that's scary. I mean, no matter what it's yelling, that's scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I'd be like, come here, lady. Come here, lady.
Something.
Chasing her down the hallway.
But just first of all, the thing's zooming around. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
You got a cat. Dog would just be tasting it, but the cat is going to be like freaking out.
Yeah.
But just, this is, we talk about it all the time, that it's really cool having all this stuff. And, just because it can connect to the internet doesn't mean it should.
Yeah. And there's so many things. So many things.
Yeah. Just, it's ridiculous. So and I think I mentioned this before, when I was at my friend's house in Key West, and I was, doing the nerd thing, working on the control panel, setting some, and we get to the Wi-Fi, and I'm like, okay, it's not connected. I'm going to leave it that way. And he's like, why would I want it connected? And I was like, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't. It's your refrigerator. You don't.
Yeah. Well, you need a notification if you left the door open or something.
It yells at you. That's the most annoying thing. That ding, ding, ding.
It's like my stove. If you leave the burner on more than like 20 minutes, it sends a notification over the app, which my wife has, and she has to have it connected. And this is one of the things too. Like when we put it in, I had no idea it connected to Wi-Fi because like she picked it out. Next thing I know, I'm doing a scan of my network that I frequently do. And I'm like, what is this? What's this device? And then I'm, track it down. I'm like, it's the stove. It's the range. Like, why is the range connected to Wi-Fi? But fortunately, she only knows how to connect it to the segmented network. So I don't give her access to the business network.
Well, and there's reasons that we always worry about what's connecting, and we're always looking. And I'm like you, I go through, and some of these devices, you have to work to figure out what they are.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to go through and label them and all of this. But it is this whole thing of, I got all these things connected, and all I have to do is say, whatever, Alexa, Siri, whoever I'm going to talk to, go turn on my, hot tub. It doesn't matter. It's like I have a pellet grill that goes through a lot of cycles, and then you're constantly managing those. Well, I got apps for that.
Mm-hmm.
But, I've got that thing set up in a certain way. It's only connected to power when I'm using it. And, it can't be used unless I'm using it. And then I'm monitoring it. And it's only on my secured, segmented network and all of these kind of things. Yeah. But as we just discussed, so many people wouldn't do that. Mm-mm. They wouldn't think that through.
I even have a couple of older phones that we don't use them anymore. And certain apps around the house, I will only install on those. It's like, these are the phones that we use to put these apps on because I don't want them on my production phones.
Hey, that's a good idea. I like it. But this is a reminder that so-and-so wants such and such that connects to the internet. You don't just go out and get the cheapest one that you find on the web. Because you might be buying something like this. So David made his list of tips. So for things that you need to do, that if you go out and get any of these devices and you do want to connect it, like there are things that I want connected, my security system, my cameras, my thermostat. I want all of those things connected for specific reasons. But what kinds of things should we do, David?
Well, the first thing I would do, and I just mentioned this, is I would certainly connect it to a segmented Wi-Fi network. Yes. Something that's away from everything that's important, and potentially even set it up to where it can't communicate across the network to anything else, even if it's on the same segment. So lock it down. If you don't have a segmented Wi-Fi network, okay, you got to do that first. Even a lot of the home routers now have a guest mode, and so that would be a segment. So put it on your guest Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that. Second thing I would do, and if you're giving it as a gift, though, you may have to help somebody do this. For example, if I'm going to give my parents an IoT device, I'm going to make sure these things are done. I'm not going to necessarily open it and do it first. I'll probably give it to them as a gift, make sure they're going to keep it, and then okay, let's do this other stuff. So the other thing I would do is I would definitely update the firmware immediately. After that, or before that, this is not in any necessary order, but I would change any default passwords that came on it. So get rid of those, because that's the first thing I'm going to do if I'm trying to hack a device. I'm looking up the manufacturer default passwords.
Yep.
And trying to get through that. The other thing is, if a lot of these things have portals, and you can go online and access the portal to get to it and all that. So if there is a portal, see if there's 2FA or MFA available, and turn that on so that somebody can't get into your portal and then access the device that you have secured locally, but not through the portal.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if there's an app involved, do some research on that app. Like I said, I put a lot of apps on devices that, aren't my normal phone and stuff like that, so I can segment that. I even segment that device out. But do some research on the apps, because guess what? Some of these apps ask for some crazy permissions.
Yes.
So be aware. What kind of permissions are they asking for? Especially if it's like on your PC, but even worse on anything.
An important thing about apps, let's just throw this in here. So many of them want to use your location.
Yeah, they do. Crazy.
And there's really no need for most of them to do that. So if they're asking to use your location and there is a need, now if there's not a need, you just say no. But if there is a need, then that particular app, then you say only while using.
Right.
Don't say all the time, unless it absolutely has to have all the time. Now, like I have one that, I'm going to go do a lot of looking into the ones that I use for things like weather alerts or my mileage trackers or any number of things, because I always forget to turn on the mileage tracker. So I got to do it's not going to be helpful unless you have it on all the time. But in the big picture of things, you don't want to just say okay all the time. So stop that. Anyway, back to yes.
Yeah. So again, I like putting these things on a different device. That way, if I don't read the permissions, or if I skip the permissions, or what more likely is going to happen is somebody else in my house is not reading the permissions.
Yeah.
It's like, here, install on this device. That way I, try to put all my risk in one area, all my risk eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, and this is the harder part, and I don't know, maybe because we're nerds, we do this, but I would also monitor your network traffic, because if you start seeing your Roomba having a lot of traffic, or your stove or your refrigerator, like you know what kind of traffic it normally has, and then all of a sudden there's a spike in traffic, that's a big warning sign.
Well, you could put things like limiting the bandwidth it's allowed to use too. So, you can minimize, or, there's a bazillion ways. I'm sorry.
There's a decillion ways.
Decillion ways that you can put security in place, and you don't have to be as like David and I are, but some of the times we're just like, hey, I wonder if this will find anything. You know, I got the honey pots, and every now and then I'll do something that'll trigger. Now, I did it. And it triggers one of the honey pots. Still freaks me out.
Yep. Yeah, I get those too. But you're right. There's a lot of ways to monitor network traffic, and some of it depends on your firewall, or you could have some kind of PC application that does it, or you could have a cloud SIM that does. I mean, there's just all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If you're putting these in a business environment, I would say you definitely better do this.
Yeah. In a business environment, you can't just start throwing these things out there.
No, but you'll see this every time this time of year rolls around. People are buying devices, IoT devices for their business to do a multitude of different things.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. There's your little tip sheet of or tip checklist. There we go. We're just going to do a bunch of checklists. And then lastly, you can be thankful that you have an idea of what to do to keep your IoT devices from yelling at you.
Yeah. So you be thankful you know what to do so that you don't have to wonder what is the vacuum doing?
Yeah. What's that? Yeah. Why does it follow me around?
It always feels like that, doesn't it? I'm like,
yeah.
Robbie the Roomba is like tracking me.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, though, if you got anything that has like a camera or device or something on there, like be mindful of where you put it. Like even the teddy bear that has the cameras in the eyes or whatever. But yeah, don't put it in the bedroom or the bathroom or things like that.
Yeah,
because you never know. I just always assume somebody's able to look at that stuff. That's why my webcam has the privacy screen on it. When I get done using it, I turn that privacy screen. It's like I just always think somebody's looking.
Yeah. And nobody wants to watch David. Trust me.
No. Yeah, I mean, in fact, it would be more detrimental to their health than mine. What was the old song? I always feel like somebody's watching me back in the 80s.
Yeah. Somebody's watching. That went with a movie, didn't it? Yeah.
I can't remember who sang it, but it was like a one-off guy who sang it. But he had Michael Jackson doing it with him, which was weird. Like, how did you get Michael Jackson to do that with you?
It was a movie. There you go.
Anyway, that is our show for today, folks. Have a happy Thanksgiving and a joyous holiday season as we go into it. And, be thankful that you're not one of the people that we talk about from week to week. And we hope that you won't be one of those people we talk about from week to week.
Yeah. And we are thankful that you listen and support us. So, thanks for that.
Indeed, we are. All right, folks. That's our show for today. Thanks for listening. Be sure to share it out to all those other folks who are running around on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Have nothing else to do but listen to some awesomeness. Mm-hmm. All right, we'll catch you next time. And remember, for Donna and myself, the HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right. Protect your patients. Day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.